The Jubilee Coalition believes in a food-secure Kenya.
The use of social media and video by the Jubilee Coalition in 2013 revolutionized campaigns. They exhibited a flamboyance and use of technology hitherto unseen in Kenyan politics.
For a food-secure Kenya, vote Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto.
The leaders took to YouTube and social media explaining their policies and giving promises. 4 years later, though, what has happened to those promises?
We promise to abolish maternity fees and charges in all public hospitals.
Even before one can analyze that one, there is the glaring lack of the person who made it, Charity Ngilu, in the coalition. Then a principal member, she has since fallen out of favor. Ngilu was forced to resign from her position in 2015 of allegations of corruption in her Ministry of Lands. Her case has never been concluded. As for the promise of free maternal care, it has run into problems with the county government, who complain that the national government has not been releasing money on time for the project. There have been plans to divert it to be managed by the NHIF. Another key promise was made before the elections on this video by Najib Balala.
We will provide every standard 1 child with a solar-powered laptop.
After years of controversy on the tender to supply the laptops, the government has finally managed to roll it out. However, it is not solar laptops that have been provided, but tablets which use electricity. Still, it hasn't been without criticism. Kwame Owino of the Institute of Economic Affairs says there is no evidence in countries where such programs have been rolled out that they have been successful.
It sounds nice to say you're technology driven, and it also sounds nice to buy expensive gadgets and deliver it to kids. They'll be shiny and kids will look very excited. So the excitement is going to be there, it's going to look very, very posh. But the truth is, it's not going to make Kenyan kids better learners or even more intelligent and improve their performance. There's just no evidence, as there's nothing that tells us that Kenya will be different.
The Jubilee Coalition believes that sport and the arts unite a nation.
The coalition had also promised to build 5 new stadia across the country and bid to host the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. Not one blade of new grass has been planted or one new brick put up for a stadium that didn't exist before. The 2019 Africa Cup of Nations will also be hosted by Cameroon. Kenya did not even bid to host it. Instead, it will host the second-tier CHAN, reserved only for locally based African players. And even on that one, it has been a problem because CAF is not satisfied with the quality of the current stadia. In agriculture, the president made more grand promises.
The coalition will within 5 years also put 1 million acres of land under modern irrigation.
The biggest new irrigation project in the country has been the Galana Kulalu in Tana River County, and here only 2,500 acres have been put under irrigation, a paltry figure compared to the vision of 1 million acres. However, critics have pointed to the mismanagement in the whole agriculture policy chain, with inadequate provision of seeds, fertilizers and extension services, and the wastage of grain rotting at the NCPB stores, which the Auditor General says is worth more than 1 billion shillings.
Improving our agricultural production is an important thing, but production alone in agriculture is not useful. It's actually the entire value chain of agriculture, all the way from making sure that we have the right fertilizer, the right seeds, farmers get to plant at the right time, and then obviously the back chain again about getting the harvest, storing it, preserving it, and ensuring that it reaches markets.
The Jubilee Coalition believes...
The Jubilee administration had also promised to build industrial hubs in all counties with workshops and ICT facilities. That has also not happened. Instead, when it got into power, that pledge morphed into a promise to build technical training institutions and polytechnics in all constituencies. The generation of electricity was meant to improve manufacturing while also ensuring that all Kenyans are connected to the grid. While the jury is still out on the economics of the latter, it is the inconsistency of the power supply that has been put to question.
We are not looking for scale. Giving us big farms, giving us expanding power to schools or expanding the production of power is not enough if that power is not available and the whole country could go into a blackout. So there are more management issues that you need to deal with hand in hand with just expanding the scale.
In its manifesto, Jubilee had promised to build a swanky modern theatre in the county. That also didn't happen. It only renovated the existing Kenya National Theatre. The coalition had promised to make healthcare cheaper, and while health is a devolved function, it entered into an agreement with manufacturers to provide medical equipment to the referral hospitals in the counties. The governors initially were uneasy with the deal, but many seem to have warmed up to it. Several promises that seem to have taken off well are the standard gauge railway. And even though it was a policy from the Grand Coalition government, it has been criticized for being too expensive and unnecessary.
Whether it will deliver the promise of fast economic growth, diverting traffic away from the tracks and making sure that we have a more efficient line, cheaper delivery of goods and connecting to the rest of Western Kenya is a different matter altogether. I actually suspect the economics of it is very bad. But in terms of the delivery and speed, it's come very, very quickly.
The coalition will also construct a series of commuter rail networks within major towns.
The light rail systems and an overhead highway in Nairobi and other major cities have not been realized. The government has also been keen on developing the coastal region with a revamped port and plans to build an industrial park in the region. The government has also been on a title deed giving spree, offering titles to people in the Rift Valley and the coast mainly. Another promise in its manifesto was to install CCTV cameras in Nairobi and major cities to manage insecurity and also equip police with more vehicles. While this has reduced instances of terrorism in the city, some of the major incidents of terrorism in Kenya and against Kenyans have also taken place in the last 4 years. From Westgate to Mpeketoni to Garissa, Mandera and in El Ade in Somalia. In the end, it simplified its manifesto into 7 key points. Put food and clean water on every Kenyan table, ensure that every child in Kenya gets quality education, create wealth, ensure that every Kenyan gets quality and affordable healthcare, empower Kenyan women to take their rightful place in developing the country, keep Kenya safe and secure both internally and externally, and develop a cogent foreign relations and trade policy for Kenya. But as it forms a new party, the government has also not been able to tackle corruption. While in 2014, 5 cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries were forced to resign due to corruption allegations, none of the cases has been successfully concluded in court. Indeed, there has been no high-profile ruling made on corruption in the courts. The government has instead been criticized for agreeing to pay out money to Anglo-leasing companies and allegedly misusing the proceeds of the Eurobond. Then there has been the NYS scandal and the alleged misuse of resources by the government.
In terms of managing corruption and public finance management in general, I think this government gets a very low grade. I'm even embarrassed to have to mention it in you. It's a very, very low grade. So it does not match the digital shine at all with the way that money is just disappearing.
In trying to keep its promises and the pledges it has made, the coalition has also been accused of taking too much debt both domestically and internationally. This, analysts say, has increased the interest rates and could make Kenya's debt burden unsustainable. The infrastructure projects are coming at a high cost, which Kenyans could pay for in a long time to come. Andrew Ochieng, NTV.